Hi, boys and girls, it's me again. We are going to work on 15-4 today, solving measurement problems. And this is located on page 406 and 407. And what I would recommend is, because we're using measurement today, that you should probably make sure you have your notes from the last chapter on making sure that you have these notes. Remember, when we're looking at units of time, when we're looking at the metric units right here of length, capacity, and mass, as well as the customary units. Remember, so like inches, feet, ounces, cups, quarts, and pounds and tons. Okay, so make sure you guys have that. And if you don't, go ahead and pause the video so that you can make sure that you are ready to go. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start off with the main concept at the top and the main practice problem. So how can you use diagrams to help solve a measurement problem? So Andy's using a roll of fabric to make a sofa cushion like the one at the right. What is the total length of fabric Andy needs to make the cushion? So each edge, which is like this piece right here, is 9 inches. And if you notice, we have 3 of them. Okay, and then the amount of fabric that's needed for this part on the front and then that part on the back is the total of 1 1/2 yards. So I drew myself a picture and decided to take a look at this. So I know that each edge is 9 inches. So if I have 3 sides multiplied by 9, I now have 27 inches. The front and the back equaled 1 1/2 yards. But notice, yards, inches, I can't really compare or combine them right now because they're in 2 different types of measurements. So what we'll end up doing is taking a look here. 1 yard equals 36 inches, and 2 yards equals 72 inches. So when we're taking a look at this, I said, well, I know that we have 1 yard, but now we also need to calculate 1/2 yard. So I took 36 and divided it by 2, and I got 18. So I now have 36 plus the 18, which equals 54 inches, or my 1 1/2 yards. So I knew how many yards 1 yard was. And I knew how much 2 yards was, but I needed to find out what was in between in order to convert this from yards to inches. So I took my 27 inches from the 3 sides and I added it to my 54 inches from my conversion, and I ended up with 81 inches total. So that means it will take 81 inches in total for me to use for fabric in order to cover the pillowcase. So now let's move on to question number 1. So question number 1 says, a recipe for fruit is shown below. How much punch does the recipe make? Notice 2.5 gallons of orange juice, 3 quarts of cranberry juice, and 2 quarts of apple juice. Now the first thing I'm going to notice is that these 2 measurements are in quarts and that measurement is in gallons. So I probably want to convert my gallons into quarts so that I can combine them all at the same time. So if you take a look over here, I kind of did my little, remember the big G with a fork, so 4 quarts. So I know that if 1 gallon is 4 quarts, 2.5 gallons will be 10 quarts because it's 4, 8, and then 2 more, so 10. So what I did was I said, well, I know I have 10 quarts of orange juice plus 3 quarts of cranberry juice and 2 quarts of apple juice. I now have 15 quarts. Then I can look at it again and say, well, wait a minute. If I know that 4 times 3 is 12, then I can say, well, I have 3 gallons and 3 quarts left over. for juice. So now let's take a look at problem number 2. So problem number 2 says, in the example above, what fraction of a yard is 9 inches? How can fractions be used to find the total number of yards needed to make one of the sofa cushions? Well, we know that 36 inches is equivalent to 1 yard. So my overall fraction would then end up being 9 over 36. And we can simplify that to 1/4. So now let's take a look at problem number 3. So problem number 3 says, a small sofa has a mass of 30 kilograms. A pillow on the sofa has a mass of 300 grams. How many pillows would it take to equal the mass of the sofa? So first things first, I'm going to go back to my book and I'm going to double check and see, well, what am I looking at in terms of measurements already? We know that the mass of the sofa is 30 kilograms. And we know that each pillow is 300 grams. We need to be able to take and cover that sofa with pillows to equal that 30 kilograms. So when I'm taking a look at this, I'm going to say, well, I know that 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. And you're like, well, wait a minute. How am I going to get that conversion down to that 300? So let's take a look at that. First things first, I know that I have 30 kilograms. So I'm going to take that 30 and multiply it by 1,000 to get 30,000. Then I'm going to take that 30,000 and I'm going to divide it by that 300 because I want to see how many pillows I can make. And so if you take a look, we did 30,000. 300 goes in here one time. And then once we do that, remember we bring up the zeros. And so our answer would be that we would end up with 100 pillows. So I know that that problem can look really daunting at first and say, wow, I don't know how I'm going to do that. But in the end, when we worked it out, you guys noticed how simple that was. So now let's take a look at problem number 4. A water jug has a capacity of 3.5 gallons. How many times will the coach have to fill a 2-cup measuring cup to fill the water jug? So here's what I want you guys to kind of pay attention to, is that when you're looking at this, if you notice that right now in 1 gallon, we get 16 cups, but we're looking at a 2-cup measuring cup, which means that we have 8 versus 16. We have to half it because the measuring cup is 2 versus 1. And how we did that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I'm going to say, okay, well, we know that if 1 gallon equals 8 2-cup measuring cups. But we also know that 16 cups is equal to 1 gallon. And we're looking at, we have to fill 3.5 gallons. So I'm going to take the 8 and I'm going to multiply that by 3. Because if this 8 equals 2-cup measuring cups to 1 gallon, then I'm going to do 1 gallon, 2 gallon, 3 gallons. So if I have 8 times 3, I'm going to get 24, which is right here. So now I have my 3 gallons, but now I have that half a gallon that I have to fill up. Remember, it's kind of like that one problem we did with counting up. So we know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 2 cups to make up 1/2. Look, it's 1/2 of my G. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to take that 24 from the 3 gallons. And I'm going to take 4 from the half gallon. And it will end up being 28 2-cup measuring cups to fill up that jug of juice. Okay, boys and girls, I hope this helps you today. If you guys want, feel free to look at the Pearson video online, or you can also send me a brief email and let me know you need help, and I'll be happy to work with you one-on-one, and we'll get it tackled. Good luck, guys.